There is something in your life that is already over, but somehow it is still living inside you. You don't talk about it much. You try to move forward. You tell yourself, it's in the past. But in the quiet moments, it returns. The same memory, the same feeling, the same weight you thought time would take away. And what confuses you the most is this. You know it hurts you. You know it's draining you. You know it's stealing your peace. And yet, you still can't let it go. Why? Why does something that is gone still have so much power over you? The truth is, it's not because it mattered too much. It's not because you're weak. It's because something deeper is happening inside you, something most people never see. You are not just holding on to what happened. You are holding on to what it became inside you. The meaning, the identity, the version of yourself that was shaped by that moment. And letting go of that feels like losing a part of yourself. So you stay connected to it, even when it hurts, even when it keeps you stuck, even when it quietly controls how you feel every single day. But once you begin to see this clearly, something starts to shift. You stop blaming the past, and you start understanding the mind that keeps bringing it back. Because the real problem is not what happened to you. It's what your mind keeps doing with it. And in this video, you're going to see that clearly, in a way that doesn't just explain your pain, but finally shows you how to release it. You are not holding the pain. You are holding the identity it created within you. What you're holding on to is not just a memory. It's the version of you that was slowly built around that moment. The version of you who got hurt. The version of you who was left behind. The version of you who keeps replaying the same question again and again. Why did this happen to me? At first, it was just an experience. Something painful, something unexpected, something that shook you. But over time, your mind didn't just remember it. It started building a story around it. And then, that story became personal. It became, this is who I am now. You stopped seeing it as something that happened to you, and started seeing it as something that defines you. Now it lives inside your thoughts, inside your reactions, inside the way you see yourself and the world. It becomes the lens through which you look at everything. You trust less. You fear more. You overthink simple things. You carry a quiet heaviness even when nothing is wrong. And slowly, without even realizing it, that pain becomes part of your identity. It feels familiar. Even if it hurts, it feels known. And anything that feels known, the mind holds on to it. So when life asks you to let go, it doesn't feel like you're just releasing a painful memory. It feels like you are being asked to let go of yourself, to let go of the version of you that you've been carrying for so long. And that is where the real fear comes from, because you start wondering, if I let this go, then who am I without it? But here is the truth, and you need to see this clearly. You are not your pain. You are not your past. You are not the story your mind keeps repeating. You are the one who experienced it, the one who saw it happen, the one who felt it deeply, but you were never meant to become it. The pain came, and it stayed, only because you held on to the identity it created. But that identity is not permanent. It is something that can be seen, understood, and slowly released. And the moment you begin to see that, a small space opens inside you, a space where you are no longer trapped in that story, a space where you can start to remember who you were before the pain and who you can be without it. Because letting go is not about losing yourself. It is about finally meeting the real you, the one who was always there, hidden beneath everything you thought you had to carry. The mind clings to familiar suffering because it fears the unknown more than pain. There is a strange truth about the human mind. It does not always choose what is good for you. It chooses what is familiar. Even if what is familiar is painful, even if what is familiar is slowly draining your peace. Because, to the mind, familiar means safe. Think about it. You already know how this pain feels. You already know these thoughts. You already know the pattern of overthinking, the late nights, the quiet heaviness. It has become something you understand. And anything you understand feels easier to control. But the moment you even think about letting go, something inside you becomes uncomfortable, because letting go is not just about releasing pain. It is about stepping into the unknown, a space where your mind does not know what will happen next, a space where you are no longer defined by the past, a space where you don't even fully know who you will become. And for the mind, that feels dangerous. So what does it do? It pulls you back to old memories, back to familiar thoughts, back to the same emotional cycles. Not because it wants to hurt you, but because it wants to protect you in the only way it knows how, by keeping you in what feels predictable, even if that predictability is painful. This is why you sometimes feel like you are ready to move on. But then suddenly, you find yourself thinking about it again. You replay conversations. You imagine different outcomes. You go back into the same emotional space. And it feels automatic, because it is. It is a habit your mind has learned, a pattern it repeats to avoid uncertainty. But here is the deeper truth. The pain you keep returning to is not stronger than you. It is just more familiar than freedom. And freedom, at first, feels uncomfortable, because it is new, because it is quiet, because it does not come with the same intense emotions you've gotten used to. But that discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is changing. It is a sign that you are stepping out of the old pattern. And slowly, if you allow it, the unknown will no longer feel scary. It will start to feel peaceful. It will start to feel open. It will start to feel like space instead of fear. And one day, you will realize something powerful. You were never stuck in pain. You were just used to it. And the moment you stop choosing what is familiar, you finally give yourself the chance to experience something different, something lighter, something freer, something real. You are not stuck in the past. You are recreating it every time you relive the story. It often feels like the past is holding you, like something that happened is still controlling your life today. But look deeper. The past itself is gone. It has no power on its own. It cannot reach into your present. It cannot hurt you again. It cannot repeat itself. So why does it still feel so real? Because it is being replayed inside your mind. Every time you think about what happened, every time you go back to that moment, every time you imagine what you should have said, or what they should have done, you are not just remembering it, you are reliving it. Your body feels it again, your emotions rise again, your mind reacts as if it is happening right now, and slowly, without realizing it, you keep the past alive inside you. It becomes something that never truly ends. You wake up, and it's there. You sit in silence, and it returns. You try to move forward, and it pulls you back. Not because it is chasing you, but because you are unconsciously bringing it with you. This is why it feels like you are stuck. But you are not stuck in the past. You are stuck in the habit of revisiting it. The mind does this because it wants closure. It keeps thinking, if I understand it more, I will feel better. If I replay it again, I will find peace. If I think about it enough, it will finally make sense. But it never does, because thinking is not healing. Repeating is not resolving. And the more you go back, the deeper the pattern becomes. It's like reopening the same wound every day, and then wondering why it never heals. But here is the shift that changes everything. You don't need to solve the past. You need to stop feeding it. You need to see that every time you give it your attention, you are giving it life. And every time you gently step away from the story, you are taking that life back. At first, It won't be easy. The mind will try to pull you in again. It will remind you. It will trigger you. It will try to make the story feel important. But now, you begin to see it. You begin to notice the moment it starts. And instead of going deeper into it, you pause. You breathe. You allow the thought to pass without following it. And in that small moment, you break the cycle, not by force, not by fighting, but by not participating. And slowly, very slowly, the story loses its grip. The emotions become lighter. The memories become quieter. The past stops feeling like something that is still happening. And one day, you will realize something powerful. It's not that the past disappeared. It's that you finally stopped recreating it. You resist letting go because you mistake it for accepting what broke you. There is a silent belief inside you, a belief you may not even notice, but it controls everything. It tells you, if I let this go, it means it didn't matter. If I move on, it means I accept what they did. If I release this pain, it means I am saying it was okay. And because of that, you hold on, not just to the memory, but to the pain itself. Because the pain feels like proof. Proof that it was real. Proof that it hurt. Proof that you didn't deserve it. So you keep carrying it, as if letting go would erase the truth of what happened. But look closely. Is holding on really protecting that truth? Or is it slowly destroying your peace? You are not holding on to defend what happened. You are holding on because you believe letting go means surrendering to it. But that is not what letting go means. Letting go is not saying it was right. It is not saying it was fair. It is not saying it didn't break you in some way. Letting go simply means you are no longer willing to suffer for something that is already over. You are no longer giving your energy, your thoughts, your peace to something that no longer exists in your life. You are not forgiving them to free them. You are releasing the weight to free yourself. There is a difference, a deep, powerful difference, because as long as you hold on, you remain tied to that moment. You keep carrying it into your present, into your future, into every new experience that has nothing to do with it. And, without realizing it, you let something from the past decide how you live today. But the moment you truly understand this, something begins to shift. You realize that letting go is not weakness. It is not forgetting. It is not losing. It is choosing yourself. It is choosing peace over pain, clarity over confusion, freedom over emotional attachment to what hurt you. And yes, there may still be feelings. There may still be memories, but they no longer control you. They no longer define you, because you are no longer holding on to them to prove something. You are simply allowing them to exist without letting them own your life. And in that moment, you don't feel like you accepted what broke you. You feel like you finally stopped letting it break you again and again and again. You are not missing them. You are grieving the life you believed was meant to be. There is a pain that feels like you miss someone. But if you look deeper, it is not just about them. It is about everything you imagined with them. The future you quietly built in your mind. The moments you thought you would share. The life that felt so real. Even though it had not happened yet, you saw it clearly. The conversations, the peace, the feeling of finally being understood. You didn't just connect to a person. You connected to a possibility. And when that possibility disappears, it leaves behind a very deep emptiness. So you tell yourself, I miss them. But what you really miss is how life felt in your imagination when they were part of it. You miss the version of yourself you became in that story. The one who felt hopeful. The one who felt chosen. The one who believed everything was finally falling into place. And now that story is gone. Not slowly, but suddenly, and your mind struggles to accept it, so it goes back, again and again, replaying the good moments, holding on to small details, trying to bring that feeling back to life. But here is the truth you have to face gently. That life you are grieving was never fully real. It was a projection, a dream built from hope, emotion, and expectation. And there is nothing wrong with that. It only means you cared. It only means you allowed yourself to feel deeply. But the suffering begins when you hold on to that imagined future as if it was something you actually lost. Because now, you are not just dealing with what happened. You are dealing with everything that never got the chance to happen. And that kind of loss feels heavier. It feels unfinished. It feels like something was taken from you, but nothing real was taken. Only a possibility ended. And possibilities are always uncertain. They are not promises. They are not guarantees. They are just paths the mind creates, based on what it hopes will come. And when one path closes, it does not mean your life has lost its meaning. It means life is asking you to see beyond that one story, to stop looking back at what could have been, and slowly begin to open yourself to what still can be. Because your future was never limited to that one person or that one version of life. It only felt that way because your mind became attached to it. But life is still moving. New paths still exist. New experiences are still waiting. And the moment you release the attachment to that imagined life, you don't feel empty anymore. You feel open. Open to something real, something present. Something that is not built in your mind, but waiting for you in your life. And that is where true peace begins. You hold on to pain because the silence after it feels too empty to face. There is something most people never notice about their pain. Even though it hurts, it fills something inside you. It gives your mind something to focus on, something to return to, something to stay busy with. It becomes a constant background noise that keeps you occupied, even when it is exhausting you. You think about it when you wake up. You revisit it in quiet moments. You carry it into your day without even realizing it. And slowly, it becomes a kind of emotional habit. Not because you enjoy it, but because it fills the space. Now, imagine what happens when you truly let go. The thoughts slow down. The emotional intensity begins to fade. The story loses its grip. And suddenly, there is silence. A deep, unfamiliar silence. No constant thinking. No emotional storm. No story pulling your attention again and again. Just space. And that space can feel uncomfortable. It can feel empty. It can feel like something is missing. It can even feel like you've lost a part of yourself. Because you have spent so long being occupied by that pain that without it, you don't immediately know what to do with yourself. So the mind reacts. It goes back. It searches for the memory again. It tries to recreate the feeling. It pulls you back into the same emotional loop, just to avoid that silence. Because to the mind, silence feels like nothing, and nothing feels unsafe. But look deeper. That silence is not emptiness in the way you think. It is not a void. It is not loneliness. It is not something missing. It is the absence of noise. It is the absence of struggle. It is the absence of constant mental movement. It is what your mind has been covering up this entire time. But because you are not used to it, it feels strange at first. It feels like standing in a wide open space after being in a crowded room for too long. There is no pressure, no chaos, no weight. And instead of feeling relief immediately, you feel unsure. But if you stay there, without running back to the noise, something begins to change. That silence starts to feel calm. It starts to feel light. It starts to feel like rest. You begin to notice your breath again. You begin to feel small moments of peace that were always there, just hidden beneath the constant thinking. And slowly, that space begins to feel like home. This is why letting go feels so difficult. Not just because of the pain itself, but because of what comes after it. You are not only releasing the past, You are stepping into a space your mind does not yet understand, and the mind always fears what it cannot control. But that space, that silence, that stillness is not something to avoid. It is where your life returns to you. It is where your attention comes back to the present. It is where you are no longer trapped in what was or what could have been. And the moment you stop running from that silence, you begin to see something clearly. You were never empty. You were just too full of noise to notice what was already peaceful inside you. The voice in your mind feels true only because you've never questioned it. There is a voice inside your mind that has been speaking for so long, you stopped noticing it as a voice. It feels like you. It sounds like your own thoughts, your own opinions, your own understanding of life. It comments on everything, judges everything, reminds you of the past, worries about the future, and quietly tells you what to believe about yourself. And because it has always been there, you trust it without question. When it says you were not enough, you believe it. When it says you lost something important, you believe it. When it says things should have been different, you believe it. Not because it is always true, but because you never stop to see that it is just a voice. A pattern, a habit of thinking that has been repeated so many times, it now feels like reality. This voice is shaped by your past experiences, by what you went through, by what you learned, by what hurt you. It is not a clear reflection of truth. It is a collection of old impressions speaking in the present moment. But the mind has a powerful ability. It can make anything sound real. It can take a thought and turn it into a belief. It can take a memory and turn it into identity. It can take a feeling and turn it into a permanent truth. And because this voice speaks in your own tone, it becomes even more convincing. You don't hear it as something separate. You hear it as yourself. And that is where the illusion becomes strong. Because when you believe that every thought is you, you never question it. You follow it. You react to it. You let it shape your emotions, your choices, your entire experience of life. If it tells you to go back to the past, you go. If it tells you to overthink, you stay there. If it tells you that you cannot let go, you accept it. Without even realizing, you are living under its direction. But something changes the moment you become aware of it. The moment you pause and notice the voice instead of following it, you begin to see a small gap, a space between you and the thought. You hear the thought arise, but you don't immediately become it. You observe it. And in that moment, a powerful realization begins to grow. If you can hear the voice, then you are not the voice. You are the one listening. This changes everything, because now the voice is no longer in complete control. It is no longer something you have to obey. It becomes something you can question. You start to see that not every thought deserves your attention. Not every story deserves your belief. Not every feeling needs to be followed. You begin to notice how the mind repeats old pain, how it brings back memories that no longer serve you, how it creates fear out of things that are not even happening right now. And instead of being pulled into it every time, you stay present. You stay aware. You let the thought come and you let it pass, without holding on to it, without turning it into truth. And slowly, the voice loses its power, not because it disappears completely, but because you stop giving it authority over your life. You stop treating it as absolute truth. You stop letting it decide how you feel about yourself or what your future will be. And in that quiet shift, you begin to feel something new, a sense of space, a sense of calm, a sense that you are no longer trapped inside your own mind, because for the first time, you are not blindly following every thought that appears. You are seeing it clearly, and that clarity is the beginning of real freedom. Real release begins the moment you stop resisting and start allowing what you feel. There is one quiet habit that keeps your pain alive more than anything else: resistance. The constant effort to push feelings away, to avoid them, to escape them, to control them before they fully rise inside you. You feel something uncomfortable, and immediately the mind reacts. It says, "I don't want to feel this." It says, "This is too much." It says, "Make it stop." So you distract yourself. You overthink. You go back into the story. You try to replace the feeling with something else. But no matter what you do, it keeps returning, because what you resist does not disappear. It stays. It waits. And it comes back again, often stronger than before. This is why it feels like you are trapped in the same emotional cycle. Not because the feeling is permanent, but because it is never fully allowed to pass. You keep interrupting the process. You keep stopping the feeling halfway, and then wondering why it never leaves completely. But real release does not come from control. It comes from allowing. Allowing the feeling to be there, without trying to change it. Allowing the emotion to rise, without turning it into a story. Allowing the sensation in your body, without labeling it as something wrong. This does not mean you enjoy the pain. It does not mean you give up. It means you stop fighting what is already happening inside you, because the fight is what keeps it alive. When you stop resisting, something very subtle begins to change. The feeling is still there, but your relationship with it shifts. You are no longer running from it. You are no longer trying to fix it immediately. You are simply present with it. You sit with it quietly. You notice where it lives in your body. You feel the weight of it, the tightness, the movement, without trying to push it away. And in that stillness, the emotion begins to move. It begins to rise, peak, and slowly fall. Just like every natural process, but this time, you don't interrupt it.
You don't add more thoughts to it. You don't build a story around it. You don't make it bigger than it already is. You simply let it complete itself. And this is where something powerful happens. You realize that feelings are not meant to stay forever. They were never permanent. They only stayed because they were resisted, repeated, and held onto. But when they are fully allowed, they pass. Slowly at first, gently, almost unnoticed, but they pass. And in their place, there is space. There is lightness. There is a quiet sense of relief that does not come from forcing anything, but from finally stopping the struggle. This is what real release feels like. Not dramatic, not loud, not something you chase. It happens in silence, in small moments where you choose not to fight what you feel, where you trust that the emotion does not need to be controlled, only understood. And the more you practice this, the less power those feelings have over you. Not because they disappear forever, but because you no longer fear them. You no longer run from them. You no longer turn them into something bigger than they are. You allow them, and they move through you. And one day, you will notice something deeply peaceful. The same feelings that once controlled you now come and go without taking your peace with them, because you finally understood something simple, but life-changing. You were never meant to fight your emotions. You were meant to feel them and let them pass. At the end of all this, there is something very simple waiting for you. Not a new idea, not a new belief, not something you need to chase or become, just a quiet return to yourself. You've spent so much time holding on, trying to understand, trying to fix, trying to make sense of what already ended. And in that process, you slowly moved away from the only place where peace actually exists. This moment, right here, where nothing is missing. Right here, where the past cannot reach you. Right here, where you are not your thoughts, not your pain, not your story. Just present, just aware, just here. And the truth is, letting go is not something you force. It is something that happens when you stop holding on. When you stop feeding the story, when you stop believing every thought, when you stop resisting what you feel, everything that once felt heavy begins to loosen on its own. Not all at once, but gently, naturally, quietly. And one day, you will sit in the same silence that once felt empty, and it will no longer feel empty. It will feel peaceful. You will remember the same past, and it will no longer hurt the same way. You will think of the same person, and they will no longer have the same hold on your heart. Not because you forgot, but because you are no longer attached, because you are no longer lost inside it. And in that moment, you won't feel like you lost something. You will feel like you finally found something you were missing all along, yourself. So don't rush this process. Don't force healing. Just begin to see clearly. Begin to stay present. Begin to allow what you feel. And slowly, without you even noticing, peace will return. Not from outside, but from within you, where it was always waiting.